You've probably heard this before, that the car insurance company is not on your side. But what most people don't realize is just how many legal tricks they'll use to shrink your car accident settlement. Chris and I have been accident injury attorneys combined for over 30 years, and we've seen clients miss out on tens of thousands of dollars, if not more, just because they didn't know their rights. This video walks you through 5 lesser known tactics that can double the value of your case, or even more, without stepping foot into court. So you avoid lowball offers, keep your medical bills covered, and actually walk away with a settlement that reflects what you've been through. So what's the first hack, if you will, to double the value of your settlement?
If you're hurt, go see the doctor. Get medical treatment. Get examined by the ambulance and EMS personnel. You don't have to ride in the ambulance, but if you've got someone that can take you to the ambulance, that's going to be good evidentiary piece for you. The hack, if you will, is the tactic that insurance companies are going to use. It's what we call gaps in treatment. So some of the most difficult cases we have are these cases where our clients are legitimately injured, but they didn't receive any medical care.
They're just grinning and bearing it.
Grin and bear, documented, okay, because there's a big difference between something that's documented and something that's not, where it's a week or 2 weeks or 3 or 4. Those cases are difficult. And even if they treat for a year thereafter, insurance companies are really going to just dig in and say, well, your client didn't receive any treatment or didn't go through the doctor for 3 weeks or 4 weeks after the accident. So it creates this big question. And there's some truth to it, not so much from the claims evaluation perspective, but our clients have the burden of proof, and sometimes convincing a jury of your peers that the injuries are from the accident can be difficult.
Yeah, so it's not that bad after a car accident. Still means you need to go to the doctor. Well, it's not that bad. I feel like I'm going to get over it. Hopefully you will. And Lord willing, you will. And you probably will, but sometimes you don't. Those cases where, gosh, a month later you thought, I should have been over this. Mm-hmm. And you're not. And now you've got that gap in your treatment.
There's a big difference between, yeah, I'll give it some time, because we hear that a lot. Oh, I was going to give it some time. And then you did give it some time, but now it's 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then you go see the doctor. The better approach is if you're hurting and you had some injuries, to get checked out. Even if it's a chiropractor, a family doctor, there's plenty of walk-in clinics around. Anything. It doesn't have to be an ambulance and a ride to the hospital. Any sort of documented care can be beneficial compared to nothing at all.
Again, as long as it is you, and I say again because we addressed this in some other video, and I'm sure you have them all memorized, but it's key that you are choosing the medical provider, not the medical provider choosing you. So if you get a call from somebody trying to direct you to a particular chiropractor, let's say, just hang up that phone. You're going to pick your own doctor. Second hack. This is inside baseball stuff right here.
Document everything.
Yeah. So your case could last for a long time, and you're not going to remember everything that you went through. So it's important that for purposes of litigation, for purposes of informing your attorney, you're just going to write stuff down as it happens to you. Hey, gosh, I woke up today and I just felt like crap, and so you want to be able to remember that. You're going to write the stuff down that you didn't get to do. Gosh, we had a vacation planned and I didn't get to go. You just want to be able to tell the story when it's time to tell the story, and you just don't rely on your memory.
Pictures, video, sometimes even at-home exercise program that are prescribed by the physical therapist. You can have a friend or a family member take short little video clips of you doing those types of exercises. Sometimes, if you can, not every medical provider is going to allow it, but sometimes if it's allowed, some documentation in that regard. One of the first things Chad and I will do when we're called out to meet with a prospective client at a hospital, one of the first things we're doing after the client wants to retain us is to get pictures. And sometimes even when the nurses come in and we happen to be there at the right time, where they're opening the gauzes in the wounds and they're doing wound care cleaning, we'll get pictures of that. So you can't get enough documentation.
Yeah. And so gather your evidence, write down what you know. If you're at the scene, you're taking pictures of the scene, you're taking not witness statements, but hey, if there's 5 witnesses there, I'm not going to guarantee it, but I feel very confident not all 5 of them will show up on the police report. So get names. One of the biggest things that insurance companies will use against you is comparative fault. So they'll say, hey, we think your case is worth $1,000, let's say, but we've determined you were 30% at fault for the accident, so we're only going to give you $700. And that's, in many, many cases, I'm not going to call it bogus. I'm going to say they're really aggressive with the percentage that they come up with that you were at fault. So the more information you have about how the accident happened, the better.
Comparative fault analysis and insurance companies' analysis of it, it is bogus. It's a legal mechanism that allows them to try to pay less for property damage and personal injury cases. And just because they make that analysis or tell you that's how they have valued the case doesn't mean that that's it, set in stone. It doesn't work that way. The law will be on your side to, I guess, negate that or attack those numbers.
Yeah.
Brings us to a next point where you're talking to an insurance company. We always tell everyone to not talk to them, to not make recorded statements. And some of the things that we sometimes forget to mention is one of the biggest reasons why, outside of maybe you don't have the education or the understanding of how these claims work. But one of the bigger factors is if and when a trial happens, because people think, oh, well, the insurance company is going to be there, or I've got my money from the insurance, now do I have to actually sue the individual? All of your communication with an insurance company, and it can be a lot, is inadmissible at trial. It is one of the things that the recorded statement would be admissible. However, if you are talking to an insurance representative, maybe it's not a recorded statement, or you're communicating through email about something, they're not there at trial. The defendant that they're insured is there at trial. And so we get a lot of clients who their whole frustration is the insurance agent or the adjuster rather, and how they got treated. And sometimes they want to pursue this further because of that. But at the end of the day, in an actual trial setting, all that communication is inadmissible. And so you might say to yourself, well, gosh, if it's inadmissible, well then, and these guys are telling me not to talk to an insurance company, why does it matter anyway? It's because of the recorded statement.
Yeah. So you also don't want to necessarily box yourself in by, again, they're very sophisticated negotiators, and most people have never negotiated this claim or claims like this, even if you're sophisticated in negotiating, this is just a different animal dealing with these insurance companies. So I think the main thing to remember is these insurance adjusters are not there for you. They are there to protect their own insured. And lots of times they'll get you with recorded statements that you might be saying things generically. How you doing today? Great. You might have just had surgery. You might be going for surgery tomorrow and you just generically say, great. Well, now, again, any statement you make can be potentially used against you. So just politely refuse to talk to them until you talk to an attorney first. So another way that you can, again, double the amount of your settlement. This is a major hack. It's finding out how much insurance coverage there is. All right. So
tough to do something.
Yeah. Most people just stop at, hey, how much does your insured have? First of all, you're probably not going to get that answer. But I guess the pro level move is to figure out what other types of insurance coverage are there. So you might get hit by a 16-year-old, and the 16-year-old has insurance coverage. And sure enough, they have insurance coverage of $100,000, but you have a $200,000 loss. Well, the good news, not for the 16-year-old, is the 16-year-old splits time between his mom and his dad's house, and he might be covered by the other household's policy. So you might have another $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 over on a different policy. If you don't know the right questions to ask, you just might not be aware of it.
Yeah, sometimes those unique fact patterns are where you have a lawyer going to be beneficial. Frankly, there's fact patterns like Chad just mentioned that some attorneys wouldn't even know about. But at least in Indiana, parents have to sign a proof of financial responsibility form with the B&B. So if you get into a situation where a child is splitting time between both, there's potentially two different pots of insurance that you can go after. Good analysis there, Chad.
So this last hack, I think these others will just simply double the value of your claim, potentially. This last hack, it will much more than double the value of your claim in most instances, is don't settle too early. There are so many insurance companies now that in some of the more minor accidents, so not wrongful death cases or not cases where people are bleeding out the scene or anything like that. But in these minor cases, it is not uncommon to get an offer within the first 1 day, 2 days, 3 days after an accident. Before you even know what any of your bills are, all of a sudden you're getting a call and, hey, do you want $500? Yeah, I want $500.
Yeah, take that.
Yeah, well, you don't know that when you accept that $500, you're not aware that, gosh, 6 months from now, I'm still not going to be better. And 12 months from now, I'm going to be having a surgery that costs $120,000. And they know there's a possibility of that, which is why they're making these small offers. Now, might be a fair offer. Usually it is not. So never, ever settle early. And what do I mean by early?
Well, in Indiana, you have a 2-year statute of limitations. So you've got plenty of time before you would have to file a lawsuit. It gives you time to kind of think about things, gather your documentation, but there's no pressure. People sometimes think that they have to settle within the 2 years. That's not the case. That's inaccurate too. If you had not settled within 2 years, you need to file a lawsuit to keep your case going. So long story short, you have plenty of time in Indiana to go over those offers. And generally, a lot of our cases, the longer they go, usually the more value that you're going to get on the file. Sometimes you get into this cost benefit analysis, but as you get closer and closer to a jury trial, now the leverage really shifts away from the insurance company to now your client, the plaintiff, because they're the ones that are in control and in charge of when they want to sell or not sell. The closer you get to that jury trial, the more leverage and risk the insurance company has, but also too at the same time your client's going to have a lot of risk too.
Now, so the key is if they're calling you up the day after your accident and saying, hey, here's $1 billion, but you got to sign it today. Yeah, sign it, right? But they're not. They're calling you up and saying, hey, here's $500, but they're requiring you to sign that document. So they are acting as if, hey, we're doing this. We're looking out for you. We know you've been through something. This is for your inconvenience. Here's $500. If they want to send it to you without you signing anything, say, yeah, just if you're concerned about me, just send me the $500, but don't make me sign anything. They're not going to do it. So it has nothing to do with you. This is all about getting you to sign a document. Okay. And it's usually for pennies on the dollar of what the case could be worth. All right. So the 5 secrets, the 5 hacks to double or more the value of your claim. Let's review. First, get the medical treatment that you need immediately. Don't grin and bear it. Don't think, it's probably going to get better. Hopefully it will, but get the treatment you need when it's happening. Document everything. Get names of witnesses. Take photographs. Don't speak to the insurance company alone. You're definitely on their home turf when you're doing that. Identify all the sources of insurance coverage. So just because they tell you one thing, it doesn't mean you've learned all of the insurance. And then don't rush your settlement. Don't delay it too long. Like Chris said, you only have 2 years. But there is no rush whatsoever. So these aren't theory, right? These are things that we do every day in our practice to try to increase values of claims for our clients. And we see them produce much larger outcomes than when these things are not followed. Okay. And if you're overwhelmed, that is normal. There's a lot of moving parts in these cases. And plus, usually you're going through something that you haven't ever been through before. Now, the process is designed to pressure folks, the injured folks, and it's designed by multi-billion-dollar insurance companies who are very good at making money. If you have questions about your situations, reach out to someone who can look at the facts and tell you what to do next. And if you want to know what happens when the situation turns truly tragic, watch the next video we have on the channel about suing the at-fault driver in a fatal car crash in Indiana. It's the one that families need to talk to us before they talk to insurance, because once you sign anything, you're kind of out of options. Click that now and we'll see you over there.